I'm going to be showing you guys how to redo a soft water shrimp tank today with just a bucket and a sponge filter, and it's coming right up. I should also mention, of course, that you are going to need the soil of your choice, and if you're going to use a sponge filter, then of course you're going to need an air supply, right guys? But the tank I want to do today is my crystal red shrimp tank here. Let me see if I can just pan around the camera. We have had okay breeding success in this tank, but it is really tailed off. There was like no breeding for a long time, for maybe about a year, and then I had one female that had quite a few babies, and then I think she was gravid again and then buried, and then she had more babies again. So we are going to do it in the same way that I did my other bigger Akadama tanks, because yeah, I'm finding out guys that the main issues you have with restarting tanks like this isn't ammonia, right? So ammonia can be wiped out here because ammonia in its soft water form is ammonium, right? So it doesn't apply to our soft water tanks the same, right? So the things that you have to worry about is when you do this is your pH, one of them, and the drawdown of your conductivity. Basically, if you use a TDS pen, you could basically do the same kind of testing as well, and you can see the difference with your eyes with the readings. Just stick it in and you'll see what's happening from day to day. The other thing guys, as I said, that you can do is test your pH. Roughly it will take maybe 5 days for the tank to settle properly, right? And if you have good filtration already in the tank that you've taken out and you've put into your bucket, we're going to go through all this in detail. If you do this guys, I can't see any reason why you can't add the shrimp back in after say 5 days, 4 or 5 days at the earliest, I want to say, because I do measure all this stuff. As I said, I measure conductivity, and from day one it can be quite a dramatic drop in conductivity after the soil has been in the water. Once you've set it all up, this is guys, right, we'll go through all this in detail as well. Right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to set up our little bucket here with our sponge, because this is what's going to hold our shrimp for our 5 days, right? And then of course you will also need a sponge, right? And I'm going to go with a double sponge here guys, because what we will do is there's already a double sponge in this tank at the back here. When we're resetting it, we'll leave half the sponge in, because there's two, as I said, there's two, so we'll leave one sponge in the tank, and then we'll use one of the other sponges, the one that's left, into the bucket here. The one that is left will go in here basically. Am I making sense? Oh my god, I don't have ramble. This will stick to the tank like this. Make sure you push it in really, really well like this, and yeah, you're going to fill it up with your tank water, and then you're going to take out all the stuff that's in the tank, place it in here, and then you're going to have to get rid of the soil, right? And I have a wet and dry vac over here that I'll be doing that with today, because yeah, I should have gotten one of them a long, long time ago. It saves so much hassle with doing this. So yeah, let's get right on with it. So step one would be this, right? Make sure that you add your sponge filter and it's secure to the side, because yeah, this can fall off. Make sure that your suckers are wet. Use a little bit of saliva, or you can use some tank water, and then it becomes really hard to pull these off. And then guys, step two I would say would be, yeah, let's swap out one of these little sponges. Let's take one from the tank, and this is going to go onto our sponge that's in this bucket. Like so, right? So you can see the process here. Right, and even if there was shrimp, plants, anything, it's okay, because we're going to add water in here, right? And the one that was on there already, we're going to swap it back onto the sponge over here. If you can even see anything back there, that is, right? And this is going to be the one that's going to be in the tank, right? And we'll fix this in a little bit better than this as well. Let's remove this Purigen pouch. For new tanks guys, I don't think this is necessarily, but if you have older tanks that have been struggling a little bit and you want to maybe try and get one more batch of shrimp out of them like I did with these guys, then yeah, you could try Purigen. Then step three guys is we need to attach air here, which I'm going to do right now. Airline is connected. Let's add our water. We're going to fill it up just to the top of these sponges, and then guys we can start to add any hardscape into this container as well at the same time that you want to keep. So my air is on here. This is probably a better way to do it guys than having no air in here at all, or no filtration, or just having like a still tank. I've done this before where I've put them just into a bucket like this for more than a week, and I've had a few deaths. So yeah, this is definitely the way to do over no filtration. It should last indefinitely in here until you get your tank up here fixed. Next guys, you just need to basically get in there and start removing as much stuff as possible. I'm going to do all the hardscaping plants first because then I'll be able to see the shrimp that little bit easier. I don't see a ton of tiny tear top babies in here either, so that's what I was waiting for to actually restart this tank. And just bear in mind guys that when you lift stuff like this, shrimp can fall off, they can actually cling onto things. So yeah, make sure that you don't drop stuff over the edges and whatever else here, because it does happen. I have a lot of saltwater tang in this, but it's all good, it can all go back in. We have a little tub of zeolite here. Going to add this in, and I'm still looking for hardscape first. Let's see, big bit of wood there. And the stuff that will be going back in guys will probably be the wood and just one central piece of saltwater tang in this, because I'm aware that my tanks are getting just a little bit too full of saltwater tang. Just a tad overfilled. Right, so I'll get the rest of this out here and then we'll have a look to see how many shrimp are actually in here. It looks like there is still a decent amount actually. Right guys, so that is most of the hardscape that I can see here, and there is a ton of shrimp in this tank. So I'm going to use my bigger net here just to try and get the majority of the shrimp at the tank a little bit faster than normal. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go in like this, and I'm going to scoop it from the front to the back like this, and we might be able to catch a couple in here, because there's shrimp of all different sizes in here. I don't want to squish them. But yeah, I might be at this a little while. All of our shrimp are in our bucket down here. There was roughly about 40 pieces. And guys, the thing that I'm noticing here is when I look into the tank is, obviously because I'm looking for small shrimp, is, yeah, there's just a nasty kind of fishy, rotten fishy smell coming from this tank. And I notice it's a reoccurring theme in tanks that have been left too long, or tanks that have been recapped. Like this was a recap tank. Underneath is a layer of akadama, and then there was a layer of ADA V2, but you can see the akadama layer in the back because I didn't have enough soil to cover the entire thing. So yeah, this tank has probably been needing to be changed over a long time ago. But yeah, the other thing I noticed as well in here guys is the lack of snails, and that's always a telltale sign that if you have a lack of snails in a tank like this, that there's an issue, because if the snails can't survive, you're going to struggle to keep baby shrimp alive as well, I think. Let's get this bucket out of the way, because yeah, it's going to be sitting somewhere for at least 5 days, right? So we'll put it over here in front of this tank. It gives us lots and lots of space over here to work with. And I think what I'm going to do next guys is, as I said, I'm going to drain this tank, and I'm going to drain it straight into my floor drain that is here, right? So we need to get something to lift this up and a pipe, and let's start draining. I want to get as much water out of this tank initially as I can, right? So I'm going to go into one of the corners here and just move the soil away from the corner with my hand, because this is where we're going to start our siphon from, that's going to empty the tank of all its water, right? And it's good just to get as low as possible at the front. Hope you're not looking at the galaxy fish bones and stuff at the side, wee bastards. Let's get this flow drain out of the way. Let's add in our pipe that's going to sit on the end, like so, and then we're going to use a clamp and we're going to attach the pipe on the inside here all the way to the bottom. So this is how you add it. You want the bend to go into the corner, all the way to the base, and then you're going to add a clamp somewhere on here guys, just to hold it in position, like so. And that is how you get your water into your drain. So this will drain my entire tank in about 5 minutes. I like to clean the front and the back panel. I don't really care about the sides because I think it adds something to the tank. Let's add my zeolite. I'm adding this to all my tanks now guys. It's not something that you specifically have to do, but for me it is something that I'm adding to all my tanks because it has a really high cation exchange capacity, which means it is able to purify water really well. And this amount will last this tank easily a year, right? So this is going to be a little layer that goes under my substrate. Now in an ideal world, you'd have an under gravel plate or something under this, but I don't have this set up for this video today, right? So we're going to do it this way, and then maybe in a future video you'll see me doing it a little bit different. But yeah, it doesn't really matter if it sticks through your substrate. It's personal choice. I breed shrimp. I'm not really an aquascaper, so yeah, let's add our Akadama. Here is our first litre. We're going to try and get in at least 3 or 4 litres in this. I'm just going to pile it even, straight over the top. Right, Akadama is smaller and lighter than the zeolite, right, so it's going to sit on the top quite easily. Like so, right, and I think we can probably get at least another, maybe 3 litres in here, so that's 4 litres of Akadama, 1 litre of zeolite, and this tank will be a baller. Alright, let's use a little bit of cardboard here. We're just simply going to even it out a little bit, guys. It doesn't have to be perfect. None of my tanks are perfect by any means, because yeah, we are mass shrimp breeders, guys. I mean, a lot of you will be able to breed shrimp and have absolutely gorgeous tanks. That's not me. Mostly because I don't know what I'm doing with aquascaping, but yeah. So the idea here is we will now add the water back in, and then we're going to add this filtration in. Then we're going to wait approximately, guys, maybe 4 or 5 days, and then we're going to reintroduce the shrimp. As most of you guys will know, but I think I need to say it in videos when I'm setting up stuff, I use reverse osmosis water. This is pure reverse osmosis water up here, so it has a conductivity of maybe about 4 or 5 or something. It's not pure, but it's close enough for shrimp. I use a buffer called Soft Water Mineral GH+. This is stuff that's meant for discus, but you can also use it for shrimp, I find. Let's turn my little scale on, the jewellery scale. This is the kind of thing that you can buy on eBay or Amazon really cheap. Put your container on like this. We're going to tear it. And guys, I add 5 grams of this material here, salt, into this container per 40 litres of water, and it gives me a perfect conductivity of 200, right? So let's go 5 grams. You go perfect on the dot. Let's get you up there, and I like to let this mix for at least 10-15 minutes, something like that. If you can get in there, right, you can see all the salt going in. The other thing I do here, guys, is I go to the other side over here, and I use a stirring stick initially, just to make sure that it gets mixed, because I'll keep you guys focused here. You watch the plume of salt come up as I mix this. Hopefully something actually shows in the camera. Yeah, but you want to get it mixed in really well to get up to your conductivity and make sure all the water is the same. Next, we are adding our water. It's already in because I've done this twice and it didn't record the sound, but I can see it's recording now. Right? We have a little clamp like this in the tank with a little piece of pipe going in, and then we have it going in like this, right? It won't overflow because there's only 40 litres of water available. I think this is a 50 litre tank. It is filling up nicely. You can see all the scummy stuff in the top. I don't bother removing it because I think this is all good organics that go into the tank. And anyway, guys, the sponge here will suck it all in. Right, so let's get this over. The water is up high enough, as you can see, it's more than halfway up now. Let's get this in, make sure none of our lovely galaxy fish bones are on. Doesn't matter if there's a couple of bits of plant or whatever else. Just dunk it up and down a few times to make sure there's nothing in it. Straight into the tank, you've got some horn water there, is all good. Straight to the bottom, guys. Make sure your filter is actually hitting the gravel to get the most efficiency out of it as possible. Push the bottom sucker, and then you want to push the top sucker till all the air comes out, and then it will stick lovely. And then, guys, this bit here where the outlet is, I like to have it clockwise, just a little bit like this. You see it? Anti-clockwise would be that way, clockwise would be that way, so I like to have it clockwise, and I like to have it so the top of this here is almost level with the tank. And I think what this does is it gives your water that little bit more oxygenation. This is what we have managed to scavenge. We have our sawasa tongue and our piece of wood. We have our cinnamon bark that also has little bits of moss and whatever grown in it. We have some Bucephalandra. We have some walnut leaves. I really love these, guys. If you want to try them, you should. We have our soaking oxidator filled up and ready to go. We have my custom made Mark Shrimp Tank's little feeding dish that we're going to put in there as well. And we have this bit of wood here. I think it's apple wood. has a lot of Java moss on it, and we have a couple of bits of hornwort, and that's just the stuff that I've scavenged from the top of that container there, right? So there's still more stuff in there to come out, but let's get this stuff in here right now. You not just love the how simple that is to do. First things first, right? This is going to be our main piece here, so I want this to be front and center, guys, over here somewhere, and it's going to be reasonably close to the front, like this, right? And the plan is to have our moss at the back and all of the rest of our stuff just dotted around all over the place, right? And I think this will be awesome for babies as well. That lovely big bit of Java moss at the back near the filter. Let's get a little bit of philandra in and a little bit of bark. This is all stuff, guys, that breaks down eventually, and yeah, the bacteria and whatever else help to decompose it even, if I can say the right word. Let's add in our leaves in our dish. And I want this reasonably close to the front because I make YouTube videos. I think this corner here where that banana leaf is, right here, is probably perfect for this. And as I said, guys, the way I like to do it is I like to try and make little islands, and going forward I want to try and create tanks where we have really good circulation, right? Oh, in our case it will be anti-clockwise like this, right? So I'm going to try and keep the sides here open so there's better flow all around the tank, right? Let's have a little look at what else to go in our soaching oxidator. I'm simply going to place this near the middle somewhere like this. Before I was adding them to the little dish in the front here, but I don't really like the look of that. But let's get our shrimp in the tank, I think. Alright guys, let me know in the comment section below, can you see the shrimp or no? Because they're going to go into this tank, they're going to be dripped. Hopefully you can see something, because I do have it zoomed out fairly far. Let's grab our drip line. I have all my drip lines up here already. Let's grab this one. Let's see. Yeah, I have a lot of drip lines because I do this kind of stuff all the time. You guys know that. We don't need an air stone in the end because there's nothing in this tank, but if you're dripping from a tank that has shrimp in it, guys, get an air stone on the end so no shrimp can go into the tube, because it does happen. Let's put our end in here. I'm going to, guys, just grab a bit of tape, and then we can tape the rest of this flexible line to the tank and then drip it in. You can also use clamps and whatever else, but I just like to use tape because I always have tape handy. You know, I was going to get tape then, I thought, why don't I just make one of these little things, because I have tons of these little clamps all around the shrimp room and they all have holes in them. Why don't I just fix this so we have a clamp that we can attach to a tank, because how hard can this be? Right, the pipe is, the diameter of the silicone is roughly about 4 or 5 mil, right? So I need a 4 or 5 mil drill bit. Let's see what I've got in here. Because, yeah, probably about time I did this. I think this is the one I've been using on all my builds. Is it a wee bit big? Tad too big? Let's see, is there anything else we're looking for? Let's try this one. Try this one, we'll see how it goes. It doesn't have to be perfect. Does not have to be perfect. Funny if this actually works, right? So you can see the clamp here, it has a little hole in either sides. And I'm going to pick one of them and we're just going to drill it through. Go on, ya wee bat. Oh, I can't see that on YouTube's. Let's see. So I think that hole is a little bit bigger. I think this pipe here is a tad smaller than I'm used to. Yeah, as you see it. Right, I'm going to check, guys, and see if I have any bigger pipe, because I think I have stuff that is 5 mil. One momentos. Right, guys, so here we have this thicker pipe. I like this much better than other stuff. This other stuff is the stuff that you get off like AliExpress, and it's just thin, cheap stuff that kinks easy and whatever. This is the proper good stuff, right? So we're going to have to go through our literal hole. Oh yeah, and it's much tighter. That's what, I can't say that, Mark, you can't say that, you'll get banned from YouTube, right? So we're going to pull this through. I have a lot of cable on here. And guys, on this end, we have half an air stone, right? Because air stones always clog, and I just end up cutting the end off. But I want to keep this part on because it is heavy, right? And when you put it in the tank, it will sink. Right, so this is the plan, you see. So all we have to do is take off our length of pipe. Let's take you over here and we'll show you what we mean. And you go there, fella. And so there you have our clamp. That will save me having to use tape all the time. I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. And guys, I think this pipe is very long, but I think we might be able to do it a way where we no longer need to cut it, because I always cut this to the proper length. So normally I would just cut the pipe here, but yeah, you're wasting pipe constantly. I wonder if we can do it like this, where let me put on our little valve first here, like this, right, and I wonder if we can loop it around here or something. God, I'm not half going off on a tangent today. They say that when you make videos, like not to go off on tangents and stuff, and stick to your what the title and thumbnail says. Well, yeah, well that is not me. Promise, guys, I'll be sticking to our thumbnails and titles soon. But that, I mean, that is doable, isn't it? Let's add some water to it and see if it stays on here. But there you have it. Let's see, will that just hang there like a pro? It does. So there you go. I think I've seen this on someone else's channel, but I can't remember who. Maybe Flip Aquatics or something like that, Rob. I think maybe he sells these. I can't remember, but yeah, that is a good way to do it. Right. So guys, I'm going to drip these for, I don't know, a good couple of hours, and I'm going to come back and we're going to add them to this lovely little tank that we've made. Okay, one momentos. Let's check the conductivity, because this is what I'm going to use here to determine whether these shrimp are ready to go in or not. Right, let's have a little look in the tank, see what it says. 193. Let's see what it says down here. You guys might not be able to see anything. 199. So it's 6 conductivity difference, isn't that? It's not much at all. But as I always say, you're going to see my funny hat here and my lovely bracelet I'm wearing. As I always say, right, time doesn't matter as long as you get the shrimp acclimated properly, right? So we're going to give this tank an extra hour, right? But what we're going to do, guys, as well is just give this a little turn, just a slow little turn, like this. Make sure the water is properly being mixed, and take out some scoopfuls of water, right? And this will help equalize the two containers to the same conductivity, and it will just mean that your shrimp will have an easier time in the tank once they go in, because the water will be almost identical. Right, so yeah, I'm going to take some of this out and we'll be back in about an hour. Guys, I went ahead and I removed all the shrimp from the tub. I actually used some of the water and filled up the shrimp tank back up again. This is all the shrimp in their little container, and I have to say there's probably, I thought there was about 40, but maybe not quite 40, maybe 30 something shrimp in there. And yeah, I think it was a very, very good time for us to change this tank, because yeah, I don't see any big buried females or nothing in here anymore. So yeah, it's a very, very good time for us to do this. Let's grab our shrimp, because we are going to introduce them into their new homes, and the home is looking pretty nice. What a difference a week makes. Will this go in? Please. Oh, look at that. I literally cannot move that up or down. Anyway, it's just the perfect fit. Got all the shrimp here in the front. Oh, look at them. Right, so the bucket was the same temperature as this tank. The conductivity was the same as well. So this is going to be their new home. Their soft water pH shrimp tank. Aren't they gorgeous, guys? They're a little bit spooked. I can tell some of them are a little bit stressed because they have changed colour a tiny bit. But yeah, that is how you redo a soft water shrimp tank if you only have one tank and you have a bucket and a sponge. Isn't that awesome, guys? So glad I did this. So glad I did it.